The practice of healthcare is often intense for both the staff and patients. It's not surprising that healthcare workers are subjected to a higher rate of non-fatal assaults than most other professions. Psychiatrist Barry Moran specializes in working with violent offenders.
The hospital is a crucible of really strong emotions. People come here because they're sick, their loved ones are sick, they may be dying. It's often a crisis for families and individuals. So they're not at their best. Often they're at their worst and most vulnerable. And those are the kind of situations that are easily can develop into violence.
After viewing this program on security and violence, you will be able to describe sources of violence, the assault cycle, warning signs of violence, de-escalation techniques, and security systems. One of the keys to managing violence is to understand its sources. Hospitals experience violence from some of the same sources found in other settings, such as disgruntled employees, gangs, and domestic violence.
Husband and wife are feuding, or separated, or divorce is pending, or one spouse believes the other is having an affair with another employee in the hospital. All of those can ignite the upset or disgruntled spouse and cause them to come in.
However, most assaults in the hospital come from patients, family, and friends. Most assaultive individuals have mental impairments.
Those patients often have severe problems, psychiatric problems, problems with drugs and alcohol, problems sometimes with Alzheimer's disease or dementia or delirium.
The assault cycle is a common device for making sense of very emotional and disturbing interactions. It describes the predictable pattern of increasing emotional stress leading up to violent behavior. The cycle has 4 phases, beginning with the activation phase.
The activation phase of the assault cycle is when something occurs that triggers a patient's anger. They become very upset. And it can be over seemingly mild, inconsequential things.
Next, the escalation phase is characterized by rapidly increasing stress and tension. The individual has trouble coping.
Sort of motor movements, agitation, expressions of anger, irritation, that's all included in the escalation phase.
Then, in the crisis or assault phase, the person loses control and may become violent. Finally, in the recovery phase, the individual is emotionally spent.
What can we do to prevent situations from developing into an activation phase? Very easy for a nurse to come out and say, I know, Mr. Jones, you've been here now 2 hours, is that right? And they say, well, yeah, almost. Say, I'm very sorry. We know you're here, and we are going to get to you just as soon as we can.
Knowing the warning signs can help you recognize when intervention is needed.
This individual's obviously annoyed. He's tapping his feet, he's getting up, he's pacing, is a deep sigh. And they may not be talking to anyone in particular. They may just be pacing in the waiting room or pacing in the hallway, making kind of comments under their breath.
Physical signs include finger tapping, clenching of fists, frequently changing positions, pacing, tensing muscles, and exaggerated gestures.
Nurse, I've been waiting here for 2 hours. I want to see a doctor now.
Verbal signs include a raised voice, angry tone, unreasonable demands, and statements indicating confused thinking. If you feel threatened, safety consultant Bruce Anderson says, don't let the person get close to you, and maintain an exit route.
Always try to establish a distance thing. Always keep distance between you and them. Always distance. We call it leap and grab area. Keep yourself inaccessible by that person so that he would have to make an actual overt action to get to you. Also, never take your eyes off that person. Don't become distracted to other things where you would leave yourself vulnerable to being blindsided.
Signs of the crisis phase include threatening behavior, damaging property, and assault. Your first priority is to protect yourself. If the situation gets out of control, don't try to play policeman.
So when it gets to that point, the best behavior for you to do is absolutely get out. Minimally, get security down there where you have at least, I hate to say a show of force, I'll call it backup.
Your sixth sense can be your most important warning.
And during the course of research, you find them saying, you know, I felt something, but because they weren't seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, or hearing it, it didn't exist. Well, that's not true. You have the right to honor that and believe it. As a police officer, I learned to trust it. I trusted my life to it.
You may be able to defuse a potentially violent situation if you intervene soon enough. Begin by getting control of your own emotions. This may not be easy. Assume a calm and centered mental state.
The staff are in the situation too. They're often under pressure, stressed because of the demands on them. They may be working a double shift. They may not have slept the night before. And when an individual's in that situation, it's very hard to be polite.
Most importantly, do not make the situation worse by being drawn into the assault cycle. Here's a demonstration of how negative emotions can escalate an exchange.
Nurse, I've been waiting 2 hours. I want to see the doctor now.
I'm sorry, sir. You'll just have to wait your turn.
Look, I've had about enough of you people. You think you can just push people around?
Don't order me around. You'll just have to wait your turn.
This is a very unfortunate situation. They have a patient in the early phases of escalation, and the nurse that confronted him, unfortunately confronted him, as opposed to trying to acknowledge his frustration, help him out. She became polarized and angry with him.
It is also a mistake to be controlling, condescending, or patronizing.
Nurse, I've been waiting 2 hours. I want to see the doctor now.
Everyone else is waiting their turn. You'll just have to wait for yours.
This nurse was very condescending to this patient, and unfortunately this didn't lead to him feeling any better. In fact, it escalated the situation.
Be calm and respectful. If possible, speak so you won't be overheard by others.
Nurse, I've been waiting 2 hours. I want to see the doctor now.
I'm sorry, sir. I know you've been waiting a long time. Would you like me to check and see how much longer it will be?
Yeah, that'd be nice. I've been waiting for a long time.
This is clearly a kind of response that will begin to help diffuse the situation. She apologizes. Not hard to do. I'm sorry. You've had to wait. It's not fair. Let me check and see how much longer it's going to be and what's going on. That's exactly the right kind of thing to do.
Listen to the person and show your willingness to help find solutions. Respond selectively. Calmly offer options. Security systems and procedures are important to everyone's safety. Access control prevents unauthorized individuals from entering sensitive areas. When you enter these areas, never let unauthorized people follow you in. Some areas may be protected by locked doors. Don't let others see the codes. Block the view of anyone who might be watching. And never reveal codes to unauthorized individuals. If you see an unauthorized person in a sensitive area, help direct them to find their way. You're not only being polite, but you will be sending a clear message that your facility is security conscious. Alarm or panic buttons may be installed in your work area. Be sure you know how to use them. Some areas may utilize bulletproof partitions and other security devices. Be sure you understand their purpose. Finally, know the procedures for handling threats and assaults. De-escalating techniques don't always work.
I don't care what you say. I'm going in that room.
Mr. Stewart, it's very
What should you do if you see another staff member being assaulted? What's the first thing you should do?
I don't give a darn about hospitals.
Don't be a hero. The first thing you should do is grab the phone and call security.
Your institution has a zero-tolerance policy toward threats. Take all threats seriously and report them. It's especially important that you know the procedures to quickly summon help.
And unless you've been assaulted, it may be very hard to understand how upsetting it is. It's very important to talk about the incident with people you trust.
Your best protection from assault is being alert and professional.
How about getting up? Just so you know, she needs help getting up.